Hello.
Hello.
All right. I hope everybody's doing okay today. We have our second book in the Bloodthorn Saga to discuss, The Hunger of the Gods. Yay! So, very excited about that. I actually just finished reading it this morning.
Nice.
Yes.
I finished it last night.
Awesome. How'd you like it?
I feel like I have complicated feelings because the first half, I would have DNF'd it if it wasn't for this. Because
Mm-hmm.
I just found myself like completely zoning out every time I picked it up and like not paying attention whatsoever. But then I picked up the audiobook. And that got me in the mood. Like that was really good. I felt like the energy was really good. So that got me going. And then every time I read it after that, I put like Norse music in my ear headphones, like proper Valhalla. And it got me in such a mood that by the end I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to read the third book. But like
Yeah.
it took me a while to get into it. So yeah, it was a bit mixed. What about you?
I actually like this a lot better than the first one, to be honest, because I feel like the entirely first one was nothing but setup, which made
Yeah.
it kind of a slog to get through.
Mm,
But the second one here, like I was actually looking forward, like every time I picked it up, I was looking forward to picking it up.
mm.
So I really liked it. I thought this was way more engaging than the first one, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Okay, what would you give it in a rating?
I'd probably like say around 4.5. I think it's pretty high up there, you know?
Damn. I think for me in the end it was like I want to say like a 3.5.
Mhm.
I still like zoned out anytime there was a fight scene. Well, it's like my eyes just couldn't like focus.
Yeah.
But I agree. I do think that the first book was like moving pawns on the board and moving everyone into the same location. And
Mhm.
now there's actual things going on. Like it was a lot happened, especially towards the end.
Mhm.
So I agree. It was in the end it ended up being more engaging than I think the previous book, but it took me ages to get into it. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe the way
Yeah.
he writes or something. I was just like, I would have DNF'd it, but I'm glad I didn't because I ended up really enjoying it. So it's like,
Mhm. Yeah. I really thought like I felt like the fight scenes like in this like were a lot better developed and
mm,
overall just because like they did less of the shield wall until you got towards the end and then they started implementing the shield wall I think to pick up the pace of the storyline, you know? But I don't know, like I actually thought like the fight scenes like were a little bit more engaging, but I mean like there was a lot more to them, like a lot more detail.
yeah. It's a good point. I didn't think about that, but I think you're right. Like there was only like one or two shield wall scenes, and I actually kind of enjoyed them because they were different. But the other ones were way more hand to hand, or like one was even like more archery. So I do think there was more variety, which was quite nice.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I like the fact that we had like more characters to follow this time.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the new POVs, Bjor and Gudvar?
So I started out hating Bjor because of what he
T.
did to Ivar, and he's almost a little bit redeemable though because like borderline redeemable. Like I don't think like that he's okay like because you know like of what he did like to her friend or to her or anything else like that. Even though he invited her to come with him, you know, I think the fact that like throughout the book we see how much he misses her and how remorseful he is for what he did, and I'm like wondering like I'm hoping like that at some point like they either like end up together, but I don't know how they can because he did something completely unforgivable, or he's going to sacrifice himself for her. Like I seriously feel
Mm,
like there's got to be some like redemption arc to this for all
yeah.
those thoughts that he's been having.
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually really enjoyed having his perspective because I
Mm-hmm.
think seeing like what made him like follow Ilska the Raven feeder or whatever her name is, and Lakrifa. Hi Rory, hi Hannon. Um seeing what made him follow them in the first place was super interesting. And I think seeing how his time with the Bloodsworn changed him was really interesting. And I think having a POV that was inside like Rifa's camp to see what they
Mhm.
were up to was really interesting as well. And I think seeing how he rejoined this other society slash group after like, you know, he had the girl that he was with, but now he can't really like have that same. And I really like that comment that that girl he's like kind of dating was like, oh, you smile way less now. And I think it like just shows like how much the time changed him. And like he
Mhm.
has done like what he's done was really bad, but at the same time like they were slavers, so it's also bad. And I do think it's curious to see like how under Elver's leadership that Bloodsworn change, um which direction she goes. I'm super 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 intrigued where she's like her
Mhm.
story's going to go, because I agree they need to reunite. I don't see them getting back together because it's just like the betrayals that happened were so deep, and like
Yeah.
her being a slaver and him being tainted and like that. But there's definitely like he still really cares for her, and she's just like, he's a traitor. But I feel like she kind of misses him as well because she
Yeah.
opened herself up. So yeah, it was definitely a good POV to add, I think.
Mhm. What about Gudvar?
I was gonna ask you, I found him insufferable in the beginning. I was like, this man pisses me off so much because he's like says one thing, but he has like all these other thoughts in his head. Like he pretty much
Mhm.
doesn't mean anything he says. And I think just reading from such a despicable person's POV, I was like, shut up. Like I hate you so much. Like he's really, I think, like I don't like him as a person. I didn't like being in his head, but his storyline was really interesting. So I
Mhm.
didn't mind. I think in the end, what happened to him, like all the stuff with Skalk, I think that's the good Verman,
Mhm.
and him having the, I don't know, the thing buried into him and having to play like basically a triple agent at some points was kind of interesting. And he's like a cockroach, like he'll
Mhm.
just survive anything. And I thought it was really in the end interesting. But yeah, I hate being in his head. What about you?
So I didn't necessarily like him, but I liked how the author wrote him.
Mm.
Um, I liked how, like he was getting like all these compliments, just like, yeah, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm such a good guy. Like I'm like, like I'm so great. And
Delusional.
I know. And I loved like the internal like dialogue that he had. That made him really entertaining. Maybe not necessarily like likable, but like he was definitely cocky. And he was very, like, overconfident because just after that, like, that's, like, when it got really bad for him.
It was hilarious. The way that man missed the point was so funny to me because he'd be like, do things so, like he's the best thing since sliced bread. Something really shit happens to him. He's like, oh man, that was scary. I'm scared as shit. And then next moment he's acting cocky again, and I was like, you learned nothing from this experience. At some point he literally said like, oh yes, this is my right place. Being friends with princes was what I was meant for. Like, oh my God. Um, no, I agree. It was kind of entertaining. By the end, I was more entertained by his how full of himself he was and like
Mhm,
everything he went through. Because he does go through a lot of stuff. Like, bless him, he's not having a good time.
mm-mm.
But yeah,
Yeah, but I feel like he kind of, like, got his, like, for that, even though it didn't stick.
yes,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
but I feel like he was fun after a while, like, once you, like, really got to know him, I thought he was fun.
yeah. Yeah, and I do think it was probably worth adding his perspective, especially for like us having an eye on that group of people, and like then we had like an eyes in every group,
Mhm,
which was quite important. But at first, I was like, oh, this man is exhausting. It's just the sheer amount of delusion. But
mhm.
in the end, I agree. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. I think, like, my least what's do you have, like, a least favorite, like, perspective?
Mm. I think it might have been Varg.
I was thinking the same thing because I don't know, like, I just didn't find his perspective, like, very interesting.
No, I agree. I was actually thinking, reading, I was like, I'm a little bored of Varg. Like, whenever his chapter came up, I was like, "Oh, fine, I'll read it." But like, when we went with weirdly, this book actually, Orca, I found
Mhm,
super engaging. Her chapters, Bjorn,
mhm.
Goodfire was always entertaining, even if I hated his guts. And
Yeah,
Elvar is just doing so many interesting things. And I think Varg, they're not giving him enough to do.
yeah,
Um, and I find him. I also think there's hints of like romance with him and Rokia now, but I felt like that came so suddenly. Like all of a sudden he was like there was this one scene and it was like 70% in and it was something like she left and he felt the tether like take him to him and then he was like so worried about her fighting. I was like, I feel like there was no hints before, or maybe I just missed them. To be fair, I wasn't the best at paying attention in the beginning. But I was like, wow, whoa, okay. We were like just all of a sudden like in love with Rokia and all this stuff. I actually found the most interesting bits of his story was when he was with Orca and his perception of Orca.
mhm,
I found interesting reading from,
yeah.
but yeah,
Oh, there was like that one scene. I can't remember who it was between, but I know it was between Orca and they're just like, "Oh, what are you, the skull splitter or something?" And it's like, and you're like,
yes.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of who she
I
is."
Yes, you know what I really loved? Elver and Orca running into each other
Yes,
and those two perspectives like intermingling because
yes,
actually they ended up being like allies. And I was like, oh, I feel like this can go one of two ways. And I actually kind of wished Orca stayed um, with Elver.
mhm,
Probably wouldn't have ended up where she did, but we can talk about that in a moment. But yeah, so I actually really enjoyed that, and I felt like they had a really good chemistry. And I think the whole Skull Splitters thing might have been in that chapter,
yeah, I
just
think you're right.
saying something like that. But I was like, I also found that hilarious, and I was like, yes, but Arca will never just say that. So yeah, it was really funny.
It's
Um,
to me, like, yeah, like, it was funny because she never said a word about it. She's just like, "You know what? I'm just gonna let them keep making fun of me." She know I love how self-assured she is. She doesn't need to tell people who she is. She kinda just knows it, and she's just like, "If we get to that point, then they'll see it. I'm not worried about it."
100%, yeah. She's like, I have nothing to prove to you.
Mhm.
Like, you'll see when I fight. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I've actually found that whole plot quite when they met was interesting and when they tricked that woman from the Raven Feeders
Mhm.
into escaping and then that Raven Feeder person Mirka or something like that her name
Yes.
was she was like, yeah, I escaped on my own wits. I was like, okay. I love that
Yeah.
you think that, but I don't know how accurate that is. But when she was like, "Let me kill that brat cat," I was like, "He's 10. You're picking fights with a 10-year-old woman." And to Björn, I was like, "This your woman? Are you not embarrassed?" Like, so yeah,
Yeah. But I think, like, that kinda made, like, he didn't wanna get in trouble again, but, like, he's trying to I feel like he doesn't really align with that group
yeah.
anymore.
Oh,
So
for
I
sure.
feel
I feel like he's just with her so that she doesn't get suspicious about his allegiances shifting.
yeah.
But he was with her before, so I was still kind of judging him. I was like, "This your woman? The baby killer?"
Yeah.
Um, so what was your favorite perspective?
I really love Orca. I really do. I think, like, I feel like we've been with her since the beginning, and we've seen her go through, like, a lot of things, and, like, we found out things about her being the skull splitter that we didn't know, and, uh, I thought I don't know, like, to me, like, she's just the best character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like last book I said I liked Elver's perspective the most, and I still really enjoyed it. But I think this book I was most looking forward to reading Orca's parts as well. I just feel like weirdly, even though she had the shortest amount of time with her crew, they had the most chemistry and I knew each person the best. So I actually felt like I kind of cared about them. Maybe because there was
Mhm.
just so few of them. It's like it was only like 4 or 5 people, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like they were so tight knit that actually I knew each person versus the other crews are like 20, 30. I don't even know people. So it's kind of hard to know everyone. And I really like Cliff and his whole arc and I felt
Mhm.
like she obviously was kind of like a mentor mother figure to him a little bit as well. And I just love like how loyal he was, and like he brings out like the more softer, I guess, parts of her. And like I liked seeing her grow as well. I feel like she was influenced by both her son and Liv to like
Mhm.
be kinder and go out of her way to help. Like there was one scene where she like didn't want to help something and everyone else voted to do it, and she was like, oh, fine. But like because she's like reluctantly doing the right thing kind of thing. And I felt like she grew a lot. And like, do you think she's we're just gonna spoil, I think. Do you think she's dead? Because I
Yeah.
almost cried. I was so sad.
And even if she is, they're gonna find a way to bring her back. There's no way. There's no way.
I feel like there's two sides. Like on one hand, I feel like thematically, it's quite poetic that she died saving her son.
Mhm.
On the other hand, I agree. She's way too badass to go out like almost off page, because all we see is her like being surrounded by spiders. But I don't know if the spider venom necessarily kills you or just paralyzes you as well. Like Lord of the Rings, when Frodo gets stung, we
Mhm.
think he died, but actually he didn't. Maybe it's like one of those. Um, but that scene I thought was really well done. Like when she was like live and through Brecca, and then she just said to herself live, and I thought that was so poetic, because like she only lived for her son to get him back, and that was like her soul mission. And just like the way it was written, I was on the bus, I was like, I feel like I'm feeling stuff, and it was really strong way to end the book.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I will be convinced like if I'll be convinced if she doesn't have a point of view in the third book, but at this point I'm not convinced.
I think that if she comes back, I feel like they're not gonna have a POV for her for like first good 20% or whatever,
Mhm.
and then we find her somewhere with like ice spiders, or because we need another POV in that group of people.
Mhm.
Because we don't have one. So maybe Liv will have a POV or something. I don't know.
I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be her son because her
Mm.
son was already speculated to be extremely powerful because he has both
Mm.
wolf and bear in his background. I feel like it would make more sense for Ifar to come back as his father figure and school him on everything.
You're
I feel
right.
I feel like that would make more sense.
Right. And I also don't think, now I'm thinking about it, Orca might not be dead because Ulfir, I don't know if you say it, said he'll see her again. And I feel like the gods probably know more. And even if she's dead, he maybe could bring her back. Because he was like attached. He was like, that's my daughter right there. Like he was so much more attached to her than everyone else, and he doesn't
Mhm.
even know her, so he must know like on some level like how powerful she is, right?
But it also makes me, like, wonder, like, if there's more to her story, like, than they've told us.
Probably, because we didn't really learn how she became Skull Splitter, or
Mhm.
like what that's all about. But yeah, no, I thought, yeah, her story was really interesting. I do think I was like, I know you want to get your son quicker, but maybe we should use our brain a little bit. And like there's this whole like she met with Elver, right? And there's like powerful people here, Uspa's here, like why not stick with these people and actually get your son back? Like it's way more likely you'll get him back. Like I understand she was like, oh, I can't wait, and she is very single-minded, like that is definitely like a trait of hers.
Yeah.
But I was like, no girl, you're gonna get yourself and everyone else killed. And that little kid, that little snitch. Oh, I was like, what are you
Mhm.
doing, child? I was so upset because they were gonna run away, and he screamed, and I was like, no. That was upsetting. I was
Yeah.
upset. I turned into Mirka, whatever. I was like, oh, just a little chill, stop it. Um, then I think my favorite after that was Elvar, and I feel like where we ended with her,
Mhm.
I was gagged. I was like, wow, my girl really said, "Oh, I'm not sure I want to be chief of Bloodsworn." Now she's like overtaken as a Jarl. And I feel like that can go two ways. Either she becomes like a good force and stops having thralls. I mean, I probably won't give up the god thrall, but otherwise, or she's gonna like become her father, which I think would be really sad. So I hope she doesn't do that. But yeah, she's amassed some real power, so I think
Mhm.
that's very interesting.
I feel like she left her like, but she always got along better, like, with her youngest brother, and I feel like she left him alive to maybe take over instead.
I feel like that boy's gonna betray her
You think so?
because if he kills her, he gets everything. He gets the god, he gets all the thralls, like he gets power of everything. So I feel like that's a lot to gain from her dying.
Yeah.
And we don't, but maybe that's not true because we basically don't know anything about him. We've only seen him very briefly, and she has like positive feelings towards him, but they're not like besties or anything.
Mm.
So I'm wondering if like, is the positive actually because he's a good person, or is it just that he's not actually done anything actively bad to her, so she doesn't have that feeling, you know?
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think she's gonna give up her power. I feel like all she's ever wanted was to be powerful. So she's gonna be like, awesome. Like I'm the Jarl now. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
Jarl. I don't know. Maybe it's a Jarl. But yeah.
I feel like, um, though, like, she's, like, angry feminism, like, incarnate, you know, because the fathers are like, "No, you're gonna go off and get married as the guy that I picked for you." She's like, "No, I'm gonna go off and be all cool and have my battle saga and fight bad guys and be in charge of the Bloodsworn and stuff. You can't stop me." And I love it because, like, she just, like, barrels in on that, like, and she's just, like, super angry at him, like, she's just like, "I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like my brother. You guys are finished."
Oh my God. When she was like, okay, fine, we're just gonna take her. I did not expect her to like massacre her father, her brother, her everyone else. I was like, wow. I thought the all for a second, I thought the wolf god, because they some were his children, I thought maybe he could overcome the collar thing. So I thought he was just gonna call them to himself or something like that. But no, we just like full on killed the dad. I mean, he was a dick, so like whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like grand right? That's her father,
Mhm.
really? Oh, that story he told about meeting her for the first time when she was 4 years old, and putting like the sword and being like, "Try to kill me," and she like hit him in the. I thought that was so adorable. I definitely want to learn more. Like, why is he so loyal to her mother, and like all that kind of stuff? I feel like I don't entirely understand that, but I think their relationship is so cute.
I think so too.
But I'm curious to see where she goes because yeah, either she'll be really great or like she'll be one of the main villains. But yeah, I do think one thing I was a bit like really was that we had to put so much effort into raising Likrifa, but then I feel like Elver raised Ulfir so easily. Like
Mhm.
it was so easy. I was like, so did we not need the tainted children? And like when they were raising Orna, it felt like a little bit more like there was some effort behind it. But yeah, they just raised Ulfir so quick, and I was like, why is this so easy? Like, shouldn't it be really hard? I do like that when they raised him, he was like still really hurt and he had to recover all that stuff. Like, I think that's cool that it isn't just like back to 110%. But I thought that felt a little easy. But I guess we were in the beginning of the book. We just needed to get it done. But then makes you think like, why did we need to kidnap like hundreds of tainted children?
Yeah.
Hannon's asked, so is Elver definitely not a tainted? As I don't think so. I feel like if she was, the god would say because he can smell it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's slaver through and through.
Sadly.
Mhm.
I do think it's a very interesting world setup because, like, obviously, it's wrong what they're doing to the tainted. And the tainted are now like the lowest rung of society. But back when the gods were alive and they were the highest rung of society, I have a feeling that the non tainted people were in the exact same position where they were like thralls and had no rights and were treated as property. So it's like, yeah, it's bad that you're being treated this way, but you were treating other people that way. So it's like this vicious cycle. And it's like curious to see how the world will break out of the cycle, because the way really Karifa is going about it would just go back to, okay, now we're not thralls, but these other people are thralls. So it's just like we need to get out of this. So I just felt that was like quite an interesting setup of like the the subjugated people overthrowing, subjugating other people who then overthrow them. And it's like, when will it stop, right?
Yeah. There was definitely like a lot of that. You could definitely see it. I don't know. So I feel like Larafka is like the person like who's more intent like on making sure like that there's like nobody oppressed who's tainted because like they shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Um but I feel like Ufar ended up like in the wrong like area because he ended up like with one of the slavers, but I feel like he doesn't want that either. He's just not in a position to do anything about it.
True. But well, definitely, because he's like super mad about himself being thralled. But I feel like it's interesting because like Ligrifa, like the dragon for sure, is more like, yeah, I don't want tainted to be thralls, but I want everyone else to bow down to me and like everyone else to be like down. So it's like they're all very and probably all fear that's his
Mhm.
ideal as well. And then they have their own petty fight that I don't even really understand what they're fighting about, but they all hate each other, all the gods,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, it sounds like you all just kind of don't like each other, but it's not a real reason to really be fighting.
Mhm.
Um, I actually found the most interesting god to be the rat god.
Mm.
I find his motivations, his personality to be just so mysterious, and I really don't know what he's about. And obviously, that's on purpose because that's his nature. Like, there was an interesting scene where Bjor, obviously, he's tainted from the rat god, and he's got the scene where he's like, fight or flight. That's like the rat talking to him.
Mhm.
And I definitely feel that with the rat god because he like just hid for like hundreds of years or whatever, how many years it's been. Um, and I'm like, yeah, he's so interesting that I actually think he's him. Like, what is he about? Because he kind of feels like he just wants everyone to almost have a good time. He's not necessarily a 100% behind Lick Rifa, and he's really smart. You can see, like, he was like, no, you need to guard these children because something's gonna happen, like things other people don't
Mhm.
think about. Um, so yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, I mean, I feel like the rat, like the incarnation like of a rat, like is kind of sneaky anyway. But I also feel like so I feel like there's like more to the story like when him and Larifa like were talking like right towards the beginning like when she first realized he was alive again or was like at their like little palace thing. Um he she was like, "Well, why didn't you come rescue me?" And he's like, "Well, I couldn't. I was scared." And I feel like there was more to the story than that. Like I don't think it was just the fact that he was scared. I feel like
Yeah.
part of me like wonders like if he was like, if he's been like in charge of his own thing for a while and he didn't want her involved.
I think he might have betrayed her, made some kind of deal with the other gods, and didn't obviously doesn't want her to know because she's scary.
Yeah.
Because I agree, like if he truly was like on her side, like even though he's scared, I feel like she's so powerful, she could have given him like real advantage. So I feel like there's something there where it's like he somehow betrayed her back then.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'm curious to know what was the rat god doing. He was just chilling. That's also my question. Like he was just in this like I think he was living among humans and because they can totally pass for a human when they're like in their human form, right?
Mhm.
So I think he was just living amongst humans and we'll find out something about that as well. I don't mean he was just like hiding somewhere for the whole time. And it is interesting that he went out of his way to like meet his sister. Like he stopped
Yeah.
hiding, so he must have seen an advantage to that. But I just think he has the most interesting mind in terms of strategy and like playing both sides and being like really covert. And I didn't expect that when he first was introduced. I was like, oh, the rat gods, but now I'm like, he's cool.
Yeah. I do like I don't dislike him. I don't know if I necessarily like him, but I don't dislike him.
I agree. I don't like him as a person, but I find him really interesting. So I like reading about him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I did find it quite disappointing. Like, I found it really funny that the Orna god got raised and literally died 5 minutes
I
later.
know.
And I was like, why didn't Lakrifa stop them from like raising her? And the only thing I can think of is like she just wanted to fight
Yep.
Orna and win again. Like Rifa is so unhinged. I'm like, yeah, she'd do that actually. That kind of tracks.
And then the element of surprise, and then Gudvar taking like rid of like everybody.
Oh my god. That was kind of badass for him. I was like, because Skulk also sucks and Helga sucks and Hakan sucks, so they all kind of suck. So I was like, I don't like you, Gudvar. I'll give you this one. It's kind of a win, like badass. I do love how everyone's answer to, oh my god, these terrible gods are coming back. I need my own pet god to protect me from all these.
Right.
Funny. Oh man, I had like a thought I wanted to talk about, but I forgot it. So, oh yeah, who do you think is gonna be raised next? Because I feel like it has to be Snaka because he's on the cover of the next book, right? I'm like, who's gonna raise him? We're just raising these gods willy nilly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I actually got an arc, so I can read it, which was making me very happy.
No, I had to order this from like Waterstone, and that was like a whole thing.
Oh god, yeah. I thought Snaka was dead. They're all dead, but he wouldn't be on the cover if he wasn't coming back, I think, right?
Yeah, but like okay, so the snake would have a skull, right? Like the snake should have a skull. But I don't feel like he would have like a skeletal body like a lot of the other ones did.
Well, his skeleton is the mountains.
Oh.
So like, do you see like yeah, when I first noticed that is so badass, isn't it? But this is his skull, and all of this is his body, I think. So how badass would it be if the mountain just moved? Like, isn't that crazy?
That would be pretty crazy.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's got to. I don't know. Like, I want to peek and see like if Orca has a point of view in this.
I found myself so surprised because I was like reading the last couple of chapters and I was like, I cannot wait to read Fury of the Gods. And if myself from reading beginning of this book told myself that from for the end, I would have not believed myself if I was like, yeah, you're gonna be so excited about book 3, because I was like ready to DNF. But I'm glad I stuck it through. It was really interesting. I feel like, oh my god, I wanted to talk about something and I forgot. Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I think Varg, are we interested where he's going? I mean, I'm interested to see what happens. I'm glad we got oh my god, so many V names. The wife back.
Yeah.
Glornir's wife. Val?
Yeah.
Vol? Something
Yeah.
like that. I'm intrigued that we got her back. I think the sisters need to reunite because they're so much more powerful than everyone else.
I kind of feel like Varg's a dead man walking like that. Like everybody wants to kill him.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. Oh my god, isn't this book so hilarious? Everyone has a blood feud with everyone else. The amount of people that are now like, Gudvar, I'm gonna kill that guy. Drekker, I'm gonna kill that guy. Varg, I'm gonna kill that guy. Like everyone's killed everyone's mother, father, sister, brother, and it's just so funny to me.
I know.
Like I was like, I'm not their blood feuds. It's just hilarious. Yeah, when what's her face? That Bjorn's girlfriend was like, "Who killed my father?" And they were like, "Varg did." She's like, "Oh, kill Varg." I was like, "Just get in line."
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was really funny. Also, Hannon, you'll be really happy because this book does kind of explain. Because me and Hannon, when we were talking about the book, like last book, we were talking about how like small the world felt and like how they travel really fast and like we don't know really. And I do feel like Varg's POVs like do a good job of explaining that we only know like very small sliver of this world, and there's like a lot more to it. And he's like he's always shocked by something, but like meeting people from different cultures or like going to another big city, he's like, I thought this was the biggest city in the world, but actually there's a bigger city. What? So I did enjoy that. I do find it funny how all the dead gods fell in one place, but I guess if they were fighting, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Varg is head empty, and
Yeah.
I love how they call it out. They basically call him stupid every day. I love that because he kind of is. Like, I love how he's like standing and she was like, "Get down because people can see your silhouette." And he was like, "Ah, yeah, good point." It's like, I hope you're pretty. Seems you have new hair, so that's kind of pretty because you ain't smart. But that's why Rokia is a good fit for him. I just want it more developed because it felt a little out of nowhere. Uh,
Hmm.
what happened to his sister? We don't find out entirely. We kind of meet the person who sold her, but it's still kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Park.
I always forget how old he is. In my head, he's 17 years old. He just acts so young.
Yeah, he does.
He keeps like accidentally killing important people, so people think he's really badass. Sorry, you were gonna say something.
Um, yeah, I have it like in my head that he's really young too because of how he acts.
I know. When he had a crush on Rocky, I was like, isn't she too old for you? And then I realized they're probably the same age. It's just
Yep.
he feels mentally so young. Um, that's like my one gripe with Varg. I'm like, well, then he's kind of boring. Like, why do you feel like a child? You're a man. Um, but he did have a pretty badass moment. You know when he like Rocky was in trouble and he was like, "Get down on one knee," and he like jumped on the
Hmm.
shield and did all that stuff. I thought that was quite cool. Overall, I think the world building and culture building is quite interesting in this world. I really enjoyed the scene where they were doing the shield jumping contest.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool and interesting and just like showing this different culture. I'm sure it was like a real thing because the author is like really particular about like bringing the actual Viking culture. But I thought that just made it like, oh, something fun to do. Not just killing each other.
Yeah. I don't know. That was I think it kind of like showed kind of their culture too, like that they even play games with their shields.
Yes, it did. It was really fun.
Hmm.
I also found it really funny how they like Gudvar had that night of drinking and he was like drinking and he like slept with that girl and whatever and he was like, "Oh, too much ale. Barkeep, give me more ale. It's like 7 a.m. I need to sober up." I'm like, okay, I guess if you never stop being drunk, you can never be hungover. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart man. Um so yeah, I do think that it showcased the culture really well and like had more I want even more like those small
Hmm.
lighthearted moments to like show different bits of the culture. I think that's quite cool.
Oh, speaking of like Harkon, right? Harkon, I think his name is the
Oh,
prince.
the Prince Haken, I
Yeah.
think.
Um, I love that part like where they storm into the tower and like they ambush him and then he ends up like getting like no pants, like just kind of parading him through the castle. And
Yes, that was
they're all
funny.
like, and then it's funny because there's only like one person who mentioned getting him pants, which was Goodvar, and he was only doing it to get in his good graces. Nobody else cared.
Yeah. And I love how there was that, was it Halja or like one of the women kept like hitting him and it was so inappropriate and it was so funny.
And
Oh.
I love that scene too.
Do you mean Liv? He is growing. He's keeps improving his weapons craft and I really like how he's been like developing and he's such a little loyal um cinnamon roll. I find him so cute and I like how he has a little crush on that Hal. Is it Halja Flatnose or that other? No, I think it was her that he had kind of a crush on and they were like, she likes women. I don't know about this but we'll see. um yeah, but he's really
Hmm.
I really like seeing his growth and I think it's cool how he went from fisherman to this.
Yeah, and I feel like he's like getting older, but like every time like anybody mentions like anything like at all, like, about, like, anything, like, risque. He gets, like, super embarrassed, like, with it, which I kind of, like, think highlights his, like, innocence out of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cute because like the all the warriors are so shameless and open with their sexuality, and there's a lot of talk about humping in this book. I was like, please stop using the word humping. Um but yeah, like you said, he's so innocent. He's like finds it so outrageous that people would just like mention that with her around and stuff, and it's just so innocent and cute. Um, I think yeah, it reminds you how young he is. Yeah. There's so much so much humping. It was really funny.
Mhm.
But again, I kind of like it. I think it showcased this culture and like how different it was and like the perceptions of it. And also I'm sure like the warriors versus the nobility is very different, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so.
Was the word humping or just a lot of humping? You need to clarify.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Never seen The Last Kingdom, I don't know.
I
Um,
either.
so okay, that they use the word. Okay, predictions, excited things for Fury of the Gods. Like, where's your head at?
I think Brecca is gonna get, like, some serious, like, combat training, because like, he's now surrounded, like, by a bunch of, like, people, like, that know how to fight, or he will be. Just an assumption, like, and he's gonna take some people out, like, in this next book, because there's no, like, way like, that everybody's highlighting how powerful he is, and he's not going to kill a key character.
True, but then I agree, but he's 10. So, but to be fair, yeah, I actually really like Brecca and like
Mhm,
how they met. Like, I'm really glad that there was more of him in this book, and I
mhm,
think I really loved how it showcases like the strengths of his characters, even though he's like a child. Like, he stood up to the like Rifa, he stood up to other people there. He was like defending other children, and I just really like showcasing how well Farkle and Orca raised him. I think that was really cool, and I do hope he gets like I do think he will think his mother died. Whether she did or not is like another thing, but he will probably want to get revenge because everyone has blood feuds in this. I don't know who he's gonna get revenge against because the spiders killed her, but I don't really Rifa, I guess. But you're right, yeah, they did like say how amazing it was that he was from both gods and that he can hear them both. So I do want to see the showcase of that.
yeah, me too. I would love to see that. Uh,
So from that group, do you think it's Brecca with POV or Liv?
I feel like it's gonna be Brecca.
Okay. I feel like it might be Liv, but I would prefer Brecca. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's Brecca.
Ooh.
Maybe. Maybe he's a little cute little face. And then stop. I don't know if a human can even kill the gods, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
I think
Ooh.
they gotta destroy something because if Snaka wakes, that's their whole mountain range gone. So like every city that's connected to it probably be destroyed. Um, I kind of hope we visit something that isn't their content. Like I wanted them to go abroad because
Yes.
I feel like there was so many mentions in this book about different cultures and different places that I would be disappointed if none of the POVs go visit something new. Like at least Iskidian, we need to like properly see. And they are going towards Iskid. I mean, I know the Bloodsworn. No, sorry. Yeah, the Bloodsworn. I keep getting confused between Bloodsworn and Battlegrim.
Mhm.
I keep getting confused. Bloodsworn went to Iskidian kind of because they went to find Jaromir and get back Vol. So I hope we like explore a bit more.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would like to have more expansion on the world and kind of, like, get more of a feel for it.
Yes. Do you think any of the other gods will be raised?
I don't know, it's hard to say because, like, It seems like they can do it pretty easily now, like, without having, like, to really, like, worry about, like, having a bunch
Yeah,
of, like, kids for it. So, I mean, I feel like it's definitely possible that they would be more easily able to do that.
I think so. I feel like if they raise the gods, obviously having Snaka, because that scene will just be so cool when he like moves and stuff.
But what happens if they make a collar for Snacka and somebody controls him?
I think someone will. Almost feel like each band will have their own god,
Yeah.
and they're all gonna fight it out because so Elver has one god. Like Rifa's on like her own god. They raised Orna, but she died. So I don't think she can. Or maybe she can come back again. I don't know. But all those people who would want her back are dead.
Right.
So it's like Bloodsworn need their own, and Orcas people need
Mhm.
their own. But then like all the like other bad guys or whatever probably would want a god. I just feel like if we're gonna start raising gods, we gotta raise them all and have them fight it out again. But
Yeah.
that would like be another end of the world, right? So curious where like that goes because you can't just like promise us these huge battles of gods and not deliver. So
I think so far the only god that I'm, like, really emotionally attached to is Ulfar, because
there,
I
and
really
me
I
for that.
yeah. I
But I agree. I think Ulfir has he feels more like human, if that makes sense. Like he feels a bit more introspective and less like just like Rifa's just kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Like my girl's unhinged.
Yeah.
What do you what do you think? How do you think Varg's sister will tie into all of this? Because I feel like we're spending a lot of time. So if we just find out, yeah, she's dead and someone beat her to death or whatever, that's a little boring. Like we could have learned that in this book. I think that would have been fine. Like why are we dragging it more? So I feel like it must be important. But I don't know how it would be. Or maybe she's still alive. I keep thinking she's alive, just in some way transformed so that her
Mhm.
bond with Varg was affected.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't th I think even if they do meet again, it's not gonna be the same person that he remembers.
Yeah. Cause you know how the Calc or something, he died and his family could like feel him dying and they discussed like tainted who are can feel each other die. So that
Mhm.
sounded like exactly what Varg described. So that would imply she's dead, but I feel like that's slightly boring. So maybe I don't know, maybe she did die and they're gonna raise her from the dead or like something's gonna be happening because it feels like it should be important because we're spending a lot of time like just following this woman around.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
And yeah, Elver, I want to see where she's going. I want to see her reunion with Bjor. Is she gonna become a warlord? Is she gonna become for good? I feel like it could be could go either way.
I mean, technically, she definitely could take up her father's mantle, though, because I don't think her brother is powerful enough to stage a coup on her.
It's true. I feel like the only way it would happen is like him weaseling his way in to like a friendship and then stabbing her in the back or something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that would be the most interesting thing to do with her. I think I think personally the most interesting thing to do with her would be to kind of turn her into her father. But I like her, so I don't want that for her.
Yeah.
So I hope she becomes like a force for good. And I do think it's kind of important because it would show that a person who's not tainted can still have like empathy and
Mhm.
can be a good person and can like help the tainted. Because right now, like she's the only non-tainted, well, except Goodvar, only non-tainted main character POV, right? So like
Mhm.
showing that normal humans can be good, I think is quite important because I think saying that everyone who's not tainted is just an evil slaver is a little reductive.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'm intrigued. I want Varg to get a more of a personality than just being nonsensical. And I do like the idea of him with Rokia, but I feel like we need to develop it a little bit more.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited.
Yes.
How thick is it? Is it thicker than this one?
It's not thicker than that one. No, actually, this has got like less pages than the third one does. This one's 538, so it's like 100, almost 100 pages less.
Oh, okay. So it's probably more like the first one.
Yes. And I noticed like at the front, like they do the recap of all the point of views again too.
Nice.
So you got Orca, Varg.
I was very happy that they put all the stuff I complained last time about being in the back and the front, because I did refer to this a couple times to be like, who was that person again? And it was very, very useful.
Yeah.
And this pronunciation thing was good.
Yeah, I didn't use that. I just kind of like I kind of winged it.
Fair. I mean, the listen to the audiobook kind of gave me more of an idea of what it's meant to be like. The audiobook was really good, actually. It was really well performed. So when will we speak about it? Probably December, I would assume.
We don't usually which means we'll probably end up taking January off, I guess.
Yes, unless we feel energized and ready to jump. But I feel like we need something easy. Like something slightly less intense, epic fantasy.
Yes.
Less battle scenes. Just something like a nice palate cleanser, you know?
Yes.
So we need to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What? Okay, today is the 17th.
Yes.
So I guess, are we going to try to fit in reading sprints too this time, or?
I'm up for it. I could do the first.
Okay.
And then we could do the live show on the 15th, maybe.
That would work. Yeah.
Maybe I might prefer slightly later, like this time, but we can agree on the actual time.
Okay. Yeah. We will talk about that too. So sprints on the 1st, and then live show on the 15th.
I'm looking forward to the sprints.
Me too.
I'm sad to not do it this time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, November's crazy.
Yeah. I think December will probably be like a little bit crazy too, but we'll figure it out, and we'll have a month like in January to kind of figure out like what we want to read next.
Yes, sounds good.
Yes. Which I know there's like a lot of like really good new stuff coming out next year too.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a duology would be good. So if anyone's got any recommendations on a slightly less intense, or we spoke about doing a standalone, so maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Be fun.
Yeah. And I think we'll figure it out. There's a lot of options that we haven't like read yet, so.
Ooh, okay. What are you both most anticipating for next year?
Ooh.
What a question, Hannah. What a question. Open my Goodreads. Oh my God, actually, so the reason why I wanted to. Oh my God, sorry. That was horrific. Sorry. I played the video on the other tab. Traumatized myself for. The reason why we were I couldn't do it earlier is because me and Hannah went to and actually met Femke there, and we went to Yolk, Young Adult Session, and I got a arc for the new Ashley Winstead book, which is like a thriller. I'm very excited and very anticipating that. So for a quick one, but I know we do fantasy, but just off topic.
Yes. Well, towards the beginning of the year, I know we talked about Helm of Midnight.
Oh, yeah.
The third one's coming out in January actually of next year. And that was like that murder kind of mystery / fantasy books.
Mm. Is it like epic fantasy or is it a bit more low key?
A legendary serial killer stalks the streets of a fantastical city in the helm of midnight, the stunning first novel of the new trilogy from acclaimed author Marina Lotster. In a daring and deadly heist, thieves have made away with an artifact of terrible power, the death mask of Louis Charbon. Made by a master craftsman, it is imbued with the spirit of a monster from history, a serial murderer who terrorized the city with a series of gruesome murders. Now Charbon is loose once more, killing from beyond the grave. But these murders are different from before, not simply random, but the work of a deliberate mind probing for answers to a sinister question. It is up to Corinna Helvath and her fellow regulators to enter the mind of madness to stop this insatiable killer while facing the terrible truths left in his wake.
That does sound so good.
But I have the first two books, and they're pretty thick, so we probably don't want to start out there. But
Mm,
definitely, like, I think like that would be a good series, like, to kind of dig into, like, as far as like murder mystery fantasy kind of like. I feel like it's a completely different genre, and it looks
mm,
like the lowest rated one's like the first one, so I feel like it's probably going to be build up like in the first one, and then the rest will be,
yeah,
yeah.
that does sound very good. I definitely want to read that. I think that murder mystery fantasy, I've never really read that. That sounds so fun. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely down. That could be our second thing. So we could do like one a bit
yeah.
fluffier and
I'm like
easier.
wondering like because we haven't done a science fiction book series like in a
Yeah.
while, so I'm like wondering like if we could find like a lighter science fiction series to do, like even like standalones.
Yes. Hanan, what's the one you really like with the pink cover that you always tell me about? What is it called? But I think it's not complete. Something,
Mm.
it's not these burning stars or something
Yeah,
like that.
that one, yeah, those ones are not complete yet. I think the second one came out for that.
Yes, but once it's complete, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Um, Lighter fantasy. Any corrects? Anyone? I think yeah, like a fun sci-fi heist or something would be fun.
Yeah, we haven't done one of those in a while. Um, yeah, I'll have to do some like research to see because like I have so many like fantasy science fiction books like around my room. I don't know like if I could find like anything like that would be like it's for inspiration for the next read.
Well, I just googled fun sci-fi book, and something that came up was "In the Mountain in the Sea," and I think the cover looks kind of fun. It says humankind discovers intelligent life in an octopus species with its own language and culture and gets off a high stakes global competition to dominate the future. A near future thriller about nature of consciousness. Okay, that doesn't sound that funny, but dazzling literary debut and mind blowing dive into treasure and wreckage of humankind's legacy.
Hmm.
It does sound interesting. 456 pages, but I think it's a standalone, which is quite nice.
Right.
Hey, okay. Have you read The Vanished Birds?
The Vanish. No, I have not.
I
Is that a
haven't either.
science fiction? Oh, but this one's kind of like a heavier like one too. It's a standalone. The Spear Cuts Through Water, I think it was called.
Oh, is it like the? Oh no, I think I'm getting confused. Because there's one that's like a Romeo and Juliet retelling.
I
Ah,
don't
yeah,
think
it's
it's
the same author as The Vanished Birds.
okay.
So the spear cuts through water is two warriors shepherd an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family in this new epic fantasy from the author of Vanished Birds.
Mhm.
The Vanished Birds, a mysterious child lands in the care of a solitary woman, changing both of their lives forever in this captivating debut of connection across space and time. They both sound pretty good.
So another option is, and they are thicker books, but they have bigger writing, is the Brandon Sanderson Skyward series, but that's 4 books. So that's
Mm,
also another option, but that would be a lot lighter.
yeah, but 4 books would take us like half a year knowing
Yeah.
us. Okay, all of these sound pretty good. We could have a poll at
Yeah.
some point.
I think Hannah.
I do think sci-fi would be a good one because we read a lot of high fantasy back to back, so I think it'd be fun to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I want to read that Helm series. That sounds really fun. Is it trilogy?
Yes. I just so there is like a good standalone. It's called The Space Between Worlds, and that's a standalone, and it is a science fiction.
Have you read it already?
No, it's on my TBR. It's actually pretty thin too. I think it's like around 300 pages.
336. Oh, I have seen this cover before. An outsider who can travel between worlds discovers a secret that threatens her new home and her fragile place in it. In a stunning sci-fi debut that's both a cross-dimensional adventure and a powerful examination of identity, privilege, and belonging. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have options, is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing. I think Han just wants us to read a sci-fi.
Yes. I mean, honestly, like I really like science fictions though.
I do too, and I'm on my mission to like find what my flavor is. Because I think my favorite science fiction I ever read was Project Hail Mary. I've
Mm-hmm.
only read it once though, so I'm like, I need to reread it to get
That's on my up and coming things that I need to get to because like I dug it out like of one of my book stacks and like I have it over there.
I mean, I would reread it because it's so good. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been thinking like about buying it physically because I listened to the audiobook,
Mm-hmm.
and I found it in like a charity shop for like £5, like hardback, and I got it. So I was so excited. So yeah,
I mean,
it's a very good book
and
to
if you like
discuss.
ever like want like a really good page turner, like Blake Crouch, like Dark Matter is pretty intense, but it's a heavier read, but it's also a very quick read.
Oh, I have read Dark Matter.
Okay. And then there's like
Like
another like one
years
that starts like with an R, I believe, that by him.
ago. Recursion.
Yes, that was pretty good too.
Uh,
That's also
what
another heavy one.
you know? Fair. You know The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Is that serious?
It will be, yes, I believe so.
Oh, okay. Because I
But
like.
I would like to see us do a series of like that Joe Abercrombie like one time, like either like the Half a King world, or like his what do you call it, like his First Law trilogy,
Mm,
because like he's not so much story heavy, he's character heavy, but like you really get involved with these characters, like you're going steady with them for a while.
yeah, you have mentioned. I'd be down to read that, but I think we'll need to do sci-fi, Helm of the Helm book, something else,
Yes.
and then that because it's again like an epic
Yes.
heavy fantasy. But
Yeah.
I'd be totally down. I also saved the audiobooks for the Half a King, Half a World series
Yes.
because you said it was really good.
Yes.
And you said that was a better entry to him. So I was like, okay.
It,
And
wa-
I
it
want to read The Devils as well.
Yes. I'm excited for that because like I actually have an audiobook like because he did the First Law trilogy and then he did 3 standalones.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And I started listening to the 4th book, which like in the Third Law trilogy, which is the first standalone, and I forgot how much I loved his characters. Like even the ones like that are horrible and intolerable are so much fun.
Mm,
So,
fair.
yeah.
I'm craving a good character book because these are fun for other things, not so
Mhm.
much like in-depth character studies.
Yes.
Ooh, I've got an interesting one. So recently, Hannah and I went to a book talk by John Gwen,
Hmm.
and one of the others speakers was Mark Lawrence, and he was talking about his the something book that wouldn't burn, that series.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Um, and just the way he was talking about it, like it sounded like it was his writing was really up my alley because he's more like about the characters, and that's how he
Mhm.
started. And apparently that series is quite different from his like other series, which is like the Red Sister and stuff. So I think he's finishing that series soon. I don't think he's finished it yet, but I think maybe we should read it once he finishes it because sounds quite fun and it's about books.
Yes.
Perfect for a book club, I feel.
Mhm. That would be really cool. I wouldn't mind reading those.
And I know that my library has it.
Mhm.
Let me see when the book fair is. Because it's also a fantasy, but I don't think it's like epic fantasy. Okay, so it's coming out April 2025. I think. Well, let me see. Yeah, so it's expected in April 2025. So we could read it maybe towards the end of the year or something.
Yeah.
Need to remember this.
Mhm.
Write it down.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we have a lot of options.
So many options. I know we have our spreadsheet. It's a mighty spreadsheet.
Yes.
To try to find it. All right. Was there anything else that we wanted to chat about?
No, I think that's good. I think we can go ahead and make announcements and everything for upcoming stuff.
Yes. I think we have a couple polls in our future.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I know we went like a little bit off track towards the end. Kind of, this is kind of like how we make plans. You guys saw it in real life, as far as like the overall discussion. And they were like, "Oh, let's just go ahead and do this at some point." So thanks so much for joining us today. I love seeing you guys, and I'll check you guys later. I'm gonna hit the go ahead and hit the end stream, and then we have the awkward wave. Just after the end.
I'm ready.
Okay, commence.